He said, the American people, I think, not only want resistance to Trump, but I think they want what the Democratic Party in the last many years has not given them. And that is an agenda that speaks to the needs of the working class because it's not good enough. Now, you may not agree with all of that. We should talk about that. This sounds to me, though, a little, I'm old enough to remember when you ran for the chair of the DNC and you made kind of a similar point. You've been kind of saying something similar. So I guess, what does that look like to you?
Yeah, I think this is really correct. Look, we have got to make sure that our opposition and everything that we're against, and obviously there is a lot to be passionately against right now, but it has to travel with a clearer picture of what we are for. Because there are a lot of voters who, for whatever reason, and Democrats might be shocked by this, but for whatever reason, did not find any of the things they've seen so far about Donald Trump to be disqualifying. And what that means is there's something else that, it doesn't mean they necessarily loved him, but they need to see something more. This is not a question of accommodating things that we don't agree with or watering down or changing our values. It is a question of making very clear to everybody how your everyday life is different if we're in charge compared to if they're in charge. What your life could be like if wages went up the way that we propose that they be raised. What we would do with the money if we successfully stopped the tax cuts for the wealthy that are at the core of Donald Trump's economic agenda. What we think could happen in a country where we had paid family leave and some of the unfinished business of fixing our healthcare system. It's not just a matter of preserving the Affordable Care Act, as important as that is. It's going the next step to make sure everybody can get and afford healthcare. All of these things that need to happen, that needs to be as clear a picture as our response to the authoritarian tendencies of this administration. Because the truth is, proto-authoritarian governments don't just come out of nowhere. We would not be in this situation if the government, the economy, and the politics of our country were healthy. They've been unhealthy for a long time. I think everybody knows that. And if my party seems like it's calling for a return to the status quo from before, that will be both substantively wrong and politically it will fail.
The other part of that, there's been some, again, healthy debate about is, is it a policy question? Is it a messaging question? Is it a where you appear question? You've talked about all three of these. Let me just start with the policy question. Do you think the policies of the Democratic Party, the party you've been a part of, need to be more ambitious and bigger than what we've seen over the last couple of years?
In some ways, yes. Look, the fact that income inequality has grown under Republican and Democratic administrations tells us there's more that needs to be done there. And the fact that it is so hard to build and do things in this country, and I lived this when I was at the Department of Transportation. We got 20,000 infrastructure projects done, but we could have done more if it were easier to complete the things that we start in this country, and we could have done it more efficiently with our dollar. There's a lot of work that needs to be done there too. So yes, there are substantive policy things that we need to revisit for the simple reason that so many of the systems that we inherited, that we, meaning progressives, built after World War II are now confronting a reality in what's coming up to be the second quarter of the 21st century that's just so different than the world we were in. But as ruthlessly as we need to leave behind anything that's not working, we need to relentlessly defend anything that is, whether we're talking about Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, or any of the other core commitments that make us who we are.